Namaskar. It is my proud privilege to welcome Shri Ems Nambudripad, a living legend of this country. Legends develop with the help of truths, non-truths, half-truths, and myths. But in his case, his legendary personality has grown out of the stark realities of life. As a young political worker at the age of 23, he participated in the civil disobedience movement. At the age of 25, he formed the Kerala unit of the Congress Socialist Party. He was secretary of the Kerala Provincial Congress Committee when he was 29. He was one of the founding members of the Communist Party of India in Kerala when he was 32, and member of the Central Committee since 1941 and of Politburo since 1950. Founding member of CPI Marxist following the split in the party in 1964, and its general secretary from 1977 to 1990. He was the chief minister of the world's first democratically elected communist government in Kerala in 1957. But this is just one aspect of his personality. He played a great role in the making of modern Kerala, has been in the vanguard of Kerala's early caste-bound social reform movement, the later secular pan-Indian nationalist movement, and finally the Marxist workers' movement. He was a chief force behind literacy movement, public health, education system, and efficient civil supplies. He is not a traditionalist, but a rationalist, and hence he would not stretch the Malayalam literature far to include everything in it of the Sanskrit tradition. And on the contrary, he will say that Malayalam literature has a history of just 5 or 6 centuries. But at the same time, he would not act like an anti-traditionalist and will be a party to a movement like Burn Ramayana and Burn Mahabharata. Unlike other politicians who start their lives with politics and end with politics, he emerged on the national scene as a politician, a Marxist historian, and a literary critic, establishing himself as a multifarious personality of his time. His important books are Gandhi and Gandhism, A History of Indian Freedom Struggle, Marxism and Malayalam Literature, his autobiography, and many other books on political and social theory. I call him a rationalist because he constantly re-examines his position. He recently criticized his own earlier understanding of literature, admitted that the stand he took during the days of the progressive movement was sectarian, had ignored questions of form, also admits the autonomy of all literature that does not harm society, and even if it is pure literature. In these days when people are giving slogans that history is dead, it will be interesting to know from EMS what does he think of it, particularly when he says that Edavichan's Adhyatma Ramayana or Tagadi's Square are products of their conjunctures. I once again welcome you, sir, to this program on men and books organized by the Sahitya Academy. This program gives the Academy an opportunity of involving distinguished persons from different disciplines and to know from them about the books which they have enjoyed readings or books which have given them new insights. The purpose is to understand the interdisciplinary response to literature. Under this program, many eminent persons, Professor Jayant Narlikar, the famous scientist, Srimati Mrinalini Sarabhai, the celebrated dancer and choreographer, Sri Vijay Raghav Rao, the distinguished flutist and music director, Soumitra Chatterjee, the well-known actor, Solil Chowdhury, the famous music director, Chintamani Kaur, the distinguished sculptor, L.M. Singhvi, the famous jurist and diplomat, Karan Singh, the famous statesman and scholar, Dr. Sriram Lagu, the famous actor, Professor Andre Bethe, the well-known sociologist, and Dr. K.M. George, the eminent literary scholar, have spoken on books of their choice and related issues. Sri Nambudripad is the 13th speaker under this series, and the 14th is Sri Atal Vihari Vajpayee, who is going to speak on 9th December about the books which he read in his life. I welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, and request Sri Nambudripad to start his speech. Sri Nambudripad.
Sisters and brothers, I thank you for the honor that you have done me by asking me to speak on a subject on which many distinguished persons have spoken before you. I do not know whether I shall be able to fulfill the desire with which I have been asked to speak. Now, books and man is a big subject. I am a lover of books. I have read lots of books. I have also written some books. So it is difficult for me to speak on man and books in general. Very often, when some people ask me, which is the book that has impressed you most? Which is the book that has shaped your personality? I answer, I can't give an answer to that. I have read many books. Many of them have helped shape my personality. I can't name one of them. But now that I am with you, I want to refer to two books with which I had association in my early childhood. That is by about 9-10 years. One was the Rig Veda. The second was the Mahabharata. But there is a big difference. Rig Veda, I cannot say that I have studied. I didn't understand a word of what it means. But for 6 years, I was made to repeat the slokas in the Rig Veda. 6 wasted years. I was asked to learn by heart and repeat. I did it. And I did it honorably. But yet, after about 5 years, I have forgotten everything. Now I don't remember anything. That was, in my life, a wasted time. As a matter of fact, when the Malayalam commentary on Rigveda was being released to the public in Delhi, with Narasimha Rao, who was then the education minister, he was releasing it. I was asked to receive the copy. I was reluctant, but the person who had done that book was my close friend. He told me, you come and speak whatever you like. He knows very well that I was disgusted with this practice. Making small boys of 7, 8, 9 years repeat the whole of the Rigveda for 6 years, but which nothing remains. He knew that I am disgusted with it. But still he told me, you come and speak, whatever you like. I spoke, and I spoke there. My only wish is that the fate that had overtaken me for 6 years, let that not be repeated for the younger generation now. That is one experience. Rigveda is a classical work in India. At that time, I didn't know anything. Later on, I learned something. Not only learned something, I also learned how to interpret it in terms of human history. I learned the application of Marxism even in the learning of such books. Who study in my boyhood was a torture for me. But I now have a better understanding of the Rigveda, that it is one of the best classics in the world. But it is not a religious book. It is a book of poems. As a matter of fact, the Rigveda was translated in poetry by poet Vallathur. The whole Rigveda has been translated. When I was a boy and learning this by heart, the practice was that non-Brahmins should not even hear Veda. Here was a non-Brahmin, Vallathur, who learned it and translated it. And some Orthodox people used to say that he became deaf because he did that. So that is how society has changed. Then the next book with which I was acquainted and which I enjoyed a lot was the Malayalam translation of the Mahabharata. The whole Mahabharata was translated by an eminent poet, Vrittanuvrittam, meter by meter. That was an experience for me. I was then have been about 9-10 years. I read the whole thing. That impressed me a lot. That also introduced me to the Indian or Hindu learning. Along with that, of course, I had read other things. But this was a period in which I started reading a lot of Malayalam books. I had not started learning English. When I was learning Rigveda by heart, I also was learning some Sanskrit kavyas. The teacher who taught me Rigveda was also a Sanskrit teacher. He taught me. I learned something. But the real education started for me when I started reading Malayalam books. All that was available at that time, poems, novels, dramas, that was by 1921, 22, like that. Most of the books that were available at that time, I read it. So, although the Rigveda did not do anything to shape my personality, but the Mahabharata did. When I read Mahabharata in Malayalam translation, meter by meter translation, that impressed me a lot. Together with that, I also learned other classical works like Tunchathiruthasan, Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. Similarly, other Malayalam books, including modern poems, novels, dramas, etc. That introduced me to the Malayalam language. It was after this that I joined the school. I joined the school only when I was 16 years. Till then, my whole life was spent by learning Rigveda by heart. And also learning some Sanskrit kavyas. So by the time I was 16 years when I joined the school, fortunately for me, because of private tuition, I was able to get the admission into high class, 7th standard. But till then, I had not been able to write Malayalam. I could read Malayalam all right, but I couldn't write Malayalam. It was after I joined the school that I started reading a lot. But by that time, I had also started reading English books. English books, not only textbooks, whatever was available. The class teacher used to give us library books. I used to take one book every time. I also tried to get books from other quarters. I was a voracious reader of Malayalam. And by the time I joined the school, I also started reading English books and also reading English papers. Hindu was the only English paper available at that time. I used to read it regularly. So, in the high school, when I was in 3rd form, 4th form, I started reading English newspapers as well, English books as well. After that, my life is well known, at least in Kerala. Probably elsewhere also it is known that I became a political activist. It was the reading of the newspaper. As a matter of fact, I remember when the Madhubhumi was started as a tri-weekly, I was a regular reader. Long before it was converted into a daily. So, with that, I came into acquaintance with the political movement. I was an ardent Gandhiite, trying to shape my life in accordance with Gandhian principles. But later on, I changed myself from Gandhi to Nehru. Again from Nehru to communist. This is how I developed. After that, I read a lot, particularly on history, economics, and political science. When I was in the high school and in the college, I used to read a lot. In the college particularly, I used to take books every week, 1 or 2 books every week. I used to read a lot. And it's a very interesting thing that the first book on socialism and communism that I read was from the college library of a Catholic college. MacDonald's Socialism and Lasky's Communism. So I started reading college textbooks, library books, wherever books were available. So that shaped me as a political personality. As a political personality, I first was a congressman, a Gandhiite, but gradually a left congressman. Actually, the first book that I wrote in Malayalam is a short biography of Jawaharlal Nehru. That was published in 1931. So I got interested in reading books like this, and through that I improved my knowledge. And then after that I left the college, joined the civil disobedience movement, went to jail, and in fact my jail life was a university life, reading lots. As a matter of fact, first when I was taken to Kannanur jail, there were Bengal terrorist prisoners there. One of them is also a great scholar. He advised me to read. He knew that I was interested in reading. I also used to write something. He knew all that. So he wanted to guide me on what to concentrate on. And he gave me a list of books on history, political science, and economics. And many of the books he suggested, I bought when I was in jail and read a lot. This is how I became, as one friend put it, I transferred myself from the Rigveda to Karl Marx's Capital. This, in short, is my life story. Beyond this, I don't know what to say on books and man. This is how the human character in me developed. In which books, including a book which I didn't understand anything, but I was made to learn by heart. Including that, these books shaped my personality. I became a Marxist. This is all that I have got to say. I was told that I should speak for 40 minutes first. I don't think I have taken more than 10 minutes. I have nothing more to say on this.
Modern literature, what you have read, as well as
Modern?
modern literature, modern Malayalam literature, what you have read, plus something you wrote, then they will ask questions. This is a suggestion from the secretary. They're specifically mentioning the names.
When asked to speak something about my own books, like the history of the freedom struggle. Now my history of freedom struggle was published several years ago. Probably it was in 78, 79. That, in fact, originally appeared in a series of articles in Deshamani when the country was under emergency rule. Deshamani could not write anything on current subjects. All that is to go in print on current subjects have to go before censor. So some comrades suggested that to fill the pages, I read the history of the freedom struggle. I had that idea for some time. I had read Dr. Pratapsita Ramayya's History of the Congress. I had read the other books. So on the basis of that, I started writing a series of articles, 2 articles a week. It so happened that by the time that series was over, emergency was also lifted. After that, those articles were brought together into a volume in Malayalam. Later on, it was translated into English. Other books, I don't remember all that I have written. I have written so many. Many I have forgotten. Some I have to get the help of friends, even for me to get copy. But some other books I can mention, which probably are significant. As a matter of fact, in 1964-65, I wrote a rather big book, 600 to 700 pages, whose title was Economics and Politics of India's Socialist Pattern, which was a critique of the Nehru policy of economics and politics. Many friends suggested later that I bring out a new edition of that. I refuse to do that because politics is changing and it will not be proper to rewrite something which you wrote several years ago. Modern Malayalam literature. You see, I have written a lot. I have made my comments and critique of several writers in Malayalam. But I have my own understanding. I have my own outlook on authors. I am not an expert in aesthetics. I am a political being. Everything I look at from the point of view of politics. That again Marxist politics. So, Malayalam classical authors modern authors, all of them I have subjected in my own humble way, subject to criticism from the Marxist standpoint. Among these, probably, one thing is important. The Kerala University asked me to speak on Kumar Nasan in their series. 1 year I was asked to speak. I made a speech. That speech lasted for 3 days. One speech every day, like that 3 days. They were collected together and the Kerala University brought it out in book form. There I have made a detailed critique of the socio-political circumstances in which Ashan wrote his poetry. I made my own appreciation. I don't claim to be an expert in the aesthetics. I am a political being. I am a Marxist. From the Marxist point of view, how could Ashan write these things? The socio-political background of that I have written. Like this, I have written on several authors. Recently, I wrote a small piece even on a play written by Sachidanandan. I don't claim that they are right, but I have my own point of view. I express them. This is all. Tell some important context from your autobiography. What shall I say? You see, in my autobiographical book, the notes of an Indian, reminiscences of an Indian communist, I have drawn attention to 2 incidents in my life, or rather, the role played by 2 women in my life. One is my mother, the other is my wife. Mother, because when I went to jail first, she was alive. I had not even told her that I was going to jail, because I knew that I couldn't resist her pressure. So I just went. But later on, I learned from jail that she was suffering like anything. And on the day I was released, I went there. Our interview was extremely touching. This is one. Then, when I came back and she saw me, she asked me one question: will you go to jail again? I didn't know. I couldn't honestly say that I won't go to jail again. But I knew that if I say that, her heart will be broken. So somehow or other, as I have written in my autobiography, there was a conflict within me. And then, in the end, I decided to tell a lie. I told her I won't go to jail again. She was satisfied. Accidentally, it so happened that she died within a year or so. So next time I had to go to jail or underground, she was not there. My wife came to my life after my mother died. She also suffered like anything. My underground life, when I was underground for the first time, people told her that I was going to be shot. Like that. And then when I had to go underground again, she had to leave her son. Like that. In fact, the chapter on that in my reminiscences begins with the question, whose affection is more touching, the mothers or the wives? I can't decide. This is one thing. Fortunately, my wife is still alive. She suffers with me all that I have to undergo. What is your favorite among the Russian classics? Among the Russian classics, I would consider Tolstoy's War and Peace is the best. It is a classic. Character in Mahabharata do you like most? I do not know. The basic differences noticed between the Vedas and Marxism. Vedas were produced 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. Marxism was produced in the 19th century. This is the difference. Vedas are the product of that epoch and that country, India. Marxism is the product of the 19th century. A good biography on Stalin, except Denstave. Denstave, I don't know. I don't know which is the best biography. You written about the Kayyur martyrs. Yes, I have written articles, newspaper articles. I have not written any book. I agree with you 10% that the Rig Veda is a book of poetry and not a religion. Please tell us, how would you interpret any stanza from the Rig Veda that you remember? I don't remember anything. All that I have learned, I have forgotten. Do you think modern writings have brought about a political situation in India which is bound to lead the country to chaos? The country is being led to chaos, not because somebody is writing about it, but because the rulers are doing something about it. That is all. What is your view regarding religion? The best answer can be Marx's celebrated statement: religion is the opium of the people. But this does not mean that Marx considers religion by itself wrong. Opium, after all, is a medicine which gives some immediate relief to the patient. But that immediate relief will not be lasting. For that, treatment is required. Like that, Marx said, religion gives immediate relief to people who are suffering due to social oppression. But that gives only immediate relief. For lasting relief, you should have a revolution. This is what Marx meant. This is my view also. The significance of the play and your role in that play. Let me first tell you that I had no role in that play as such. I had helped the rehearsals of that play. I also had helped the staging of that play. Because that was a play which wanted to revolutionize the then Orthodox Nambudiri society. The title Aduklayil Ninnu Arangathekku means from the kitchen to the stage. That was the significance of that. You thought about the ashram system from the economic point of view, as according to the system, 75% of the population would be non-consumerist, and even the richest person is supposed to give up wealth from his inner urge. I don't know whether they are supposed to do it, but are they actually doing it? This ashram system has not made any change in the society. Do you remember any Malayalam poem? Could you please recite a few stanzas? I don't think that will serve any purpose. Of course, I remember many stanzas, but why repeat it here?
Guests and my friends, I'm here just to offer a formal vote of thanks, which I know would not be enough for an occasion like this. We in Kerala say Kerala has produced, and to an extent Kerala has been produced by two Shankaras. One was the Adi Shankara, the one who proposed the Advaitic philosophy, and one who also helped unite India in one historical epoch. And the other is our honored guest today, who through his philosophy of dialectics, once again in a different epoch, tried to unite India, perhaps another India, the suffering India, the oppressed India, the subaltern India, the India of the workers and the ordinary people. And of the two Shankaras, perhaps in shaping the present of Kerala, the latter has certainly played a more significant role, even though, of course, we continue to pay tributes to the Adi Shankara. The present of Kerala's history owes a lot to Sri Ems Nambudripad, who, through his social action, political action, through his reformist activities, has over the years helped shape modern Kerala and make it what it is today, the most literate state in India, one of the most educated states in India, and perhaps one state that has produced also one of the finest literatures in the country. I have no words to express my gratitude to Sri Ems Nambudripad, who so kindly, in spite of all his physical infirmities, offered to, of course, his mind remains alert, and he is, in fact, really a mind now more than a body. His memory is quite alert. As you must have seen, even he remembers the years when he wrote his books or when he had his particular encounters in life. So I thank him for having agreed to come here and address us and also answer some of our questions, which were sometimes intelligent, sometimes perhaps disturbing. I thank all of you for having come here, participated in this, and also made the whole session lively by your intelligent intervention. Thank you very much.